Once upon a time, Annie was frozen by her anxiety. She could hardly move or see joy anywhere, until one day she realized her own thoughts could thaw her from the inside. Annie began using her thoughts more and more each day until she warmed up. Then she discovered she was living in a beautiful enchanted forest, which she can now fully experience. This is Annie's manifesting success story. Hello, and welcome to interview number 10 in the Amazing Annie's Years of Growth series. Welcome, Annie.
Hello.
Hi. What is awesome in your life right now?
The amount of beauty and love and abundance that is everywhere.
Oh, I love that. I love it. And I especially loved your post this morning that was like, this is what I'm doing. And I love my life. Like, my life is so awesome. What does it feel like to have that, like, to just have that be like, yeah, my life is awesome. I love it.
It feels peaceful and very just relaxed and comfortable and exciting at the same time. Just really, I have plenty of time to do everything. Everything falls into order and place, just unfolds easily.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy.
I love that. I love hearing that. Did you ever, like, when you started, you had to believe on some level, like, it could get better. But is this like what you imagined it would be?
It's better than I imagined I would be. I didn't realize how limiting some of my beliefs were and how they were creating this life that felt constricted and tight and fast paced. Like I was always trying to catch up and balance everything. And I didn't realize what I was doing to create that thought wise.
Yeah.
And so repatterning my thoughts over the last year and a half, my neuroplasticity, like I can tell like my brain is different and I can feel it in every part of my like being. Yes. The whole thing.
I love it. First of all, I always get giddy when, people are like neuroplasticity.
But it's like I can feel the difference. And I've always known that and that, our brains aren't set. We can change and grow. And it's been just exciting to guide my brain and choose how I want it to grow.
Yes.
It's been really nice.
Oh, guide my brain and choose how I want it to grow. It's so powerful and so amazing, right? And knowing that we have. And so knowing the work that you've done now, what would you say like that means? Because I think it's easy for us to say like, oh, I can guide my brain and I can change it. Like, what does that mean? What are some of the things that went into that? Other than doing the assignments. What am I asking? Are there things that you didn't realize sort of that? Let me take my question back. The process, but then it's becoming aware, right? It's becoming aware that, and we were talking before the call about this post that you had written where one of the things that I think you were diligent about, which is awesome, is asking questions, like using the 4 questions that we use for our future self, like and the main one for you, I think, being, does she believe this? Yeah.
I think understanding that I can change and I always knew, I'm a therapist. I know you can change your belief system. Right. I've known that for a very long time, but seeing, so does she believe this? Like an old automatic thought would pop into my head, and then having that cue, does she believe this? Does the me I want to be believe this? And no, hell no. And honestly, I had this kind of, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, this I hate my life. Like it would be this automatic thought that would just settle, go through my brain every once in a while. I hate my life. And it was just this kind of, I hate my life um, thing that it would just, I would be walking upstairs, it would drift through my brain. I would be doing dishes, it would drift through my brain. And I kind of paused because I remember how that felt. And now choosing, like, my future self does not hate her life. Like
Right.
it's awesome and there's nothing to hate. And I don't hate my life now. Like my rote thought is I love my life. Walking up the stairs, those automatic thoughts, man, every step I take, I love. Like I pulling into traffic, my life is so easy. There's always a place for me to turn into traffic. I like every time I turn around, proof of this magical, beautiful life is there. And it's here, it's now. And that's how I feel all the time now. Like, and that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Did I answer your question?
Yes. Even I think my original is that it's like I always say it's not that hour that you do of your manifesting work, it's the other 23 hours in how you live. And that's part of it, is doing the process and doing the work so you have that foundation. But then over time you become conscious of like, oh no, does she believe that? Like, no.
Mhm.
And you don't even have to, in the beginning you might not have had the answer. Like I like if the thought is I hate my life and you're like, does she think this? And you're like, no. Did you always know what she thought, or did you just know she didn't think that?
I don't know if I was clear about what my future self was like.
Yeah.
So getting to know my future self and getting to know that I can figure out who I want to be in 5 years and get to know her. And then that we've talked about that before, that backwards design, and then bring her, not get there from here, but bring her to me.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And then the feeling, I feel so different now. Just the thoughts I think, the words
Mhm.
I say, the text I send. Um, I am just different. I'm totally great. And I love that old me, but
Yes.
I appreciate all the decisions she made, and I love being calm and peaceful and happy. And
Yes.
that feels very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. And I just wanted this more for listeners than us, like backtrack to that. Like, you don't have to know what your future self thinks. Like you said, we bring her to you, you can learn that. It's just it starts with that first step of like knowing, like, no, she doesn't think that, and which leaves like a space for
Mm-hmm.
something to be filled in.
Mm-hmm. And some of the exercises that you do, like just having you move, all of the exercises are so intentional and really help the process. It guides the process. You don't have to worry about, oh, who is this? Like, how do I do that? Like, it naturally unfolds.
Yeah.
And I think I've mentioned this before, but the playlist, the Creating the Future
Yes.
Self playlist, that has been so instrumental in my growth. And because it helps, like I pop it in the car, and so when I'm commuting I'm listening to the playlist and I'm listening to my future self, and then those automatic thoughts that I used to have while I was driving to work, like that's done. I'm like grooving to Peaceful Easy Feeling, because like
that's who you are. That's your
Yeah.
future self. It's who you are now. Yes.
Yeah, that's been such a good, I mean, such a simple but really effective growth tool.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. I love when, I mean, that's always my goal, is to make it simple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. All right. So we're kind of on the topic of thoughts.
can we talk a little bit about the holidays and being with your family and having this realization that, like noticing that people were talking in a way that's like, no, it's like the way that it sounded to me, and it's what happens to me as well. It's like nails on a chalkboard now, right? Where it used to just be background noise. Is that kind of how you describe it?
Yes, a sandpaper, like going the wrong way.
Oh yeah, that gives you the the body heebie-jeebies too.
Yeah, like abrasive. It's like abrasive, and then I had some kind of emotional moments where in the past, I did feel little not so good feelings around them, um, but not for too long, and I nurtured it a lot. Like, okay, and I feel like the next time things are going to be a little less. I don't know if that may, when you're in, like all of your family's in one space, and it's like a pressure cooker, and and you love them so much. And then, like, it can be emotional too, though, because these old little parts of us, our childhood selves come up a little bit. And I forgot what your question was.
Just that you noticed sort of the self, like the talk, right? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that you said is that, some of the ways that your family member talk is like, you were like, that's awful. And I used to talk to myself like that.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Sorry.
That's okay.
It was like, that is my old voice. Like, that's where it came from. Not that I need to blame anybody, but geez Louise, you're mean. And I had a lot of limiting beliefs from, I won't name any names, so in case they ever listen to this, but they weren't all from inside my head. Right. And they're there for a very good reason. And I can see why they, came in their process to see and think that way when they're stressed out. So I bless them too. Yeah. But going, ow, gosh, when you hear it in a different way, and then when you notice that you flip it around on yourself, and everybody has those internal belief systems, and I'm so glad I was able to figure out, like, no, like, honestly, one of mine was like, I'm stupid, I can't figure anything out, and so when I've heard that coming from other people, so one of the things my dad will say is, "Oh, Anna, you're just like me. You're horrible at ... And I love him. I really do. Yeah. And he loves me. Right. He says that a lot about a lot of things. And I had stopped trying new things because of that. So I had stopped biking because I had a bike wreck when I was a kid. So I didn't bike. I was bad at that. I was bad at writing. I was bad at all of this stuff. Lots of things, and painting, being creative. And so learning, and I love my dad. He didn't mean to put those tapes in my head.
Yeah, right. It's not intentional.
And it was, you're just like me, dear daughter that I love. You suck. But so I've been undoing that, and I got into biking, and I love biking. And it's just been instrumental in my growth and being happy and healing and stuff. And then I am letting myself try all these things that I had told myself I was bad at because of that. I don't know if I went on a tangent, but I think it's all connected.
It's all connected. Yeah, no, it's like those voices, you've changed those voices, and you've, to be your own, really, I think you might say, like, you've chosen the voices, right? Instead of having them by default that sort of got put there. And but then you were able to, which I think is a cool experience when you like hear it and you're different and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. And it does, like, you really realize, like, oh, that's what I was doing to myself all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank goodness I don't do that anymore.
Right? Yeah. And then it's like celebration, right? It's like, yeah. which is awesome. Speaking of celebrations, I think there's something really cool that we should celebrate, which is your newfound depositing check routine.
Oh,
yeah.
I was like, I actually didn't know what you were going to say because I have so many awesome things.
Oh,
which way should go? Yes, my new, take the money to the bank habit.
Yeah. So in the past, you'd sort of like hoard or hold on to checks, right? And now you open the envelope, you get the check, you take the picture with the mobile deposit, and it's in your account, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel when you do that?
Free. Yeah. And responsible.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I would and I think we've talked about this a bit, but I would put them in my folder and then I would hold on to them. And then I would pay late fees for things. And I'd have $4,000 in my and I don't do that anymore at all. Take the picture, deposit it, and it's so funny. I had to do some growth about depositing money.
Yeah. Now it seems like that's silly, but in the moment, it's so real, right? Like there was, even if there wasn't like a real fear, like there was something that was saying like, I can't deposit them. I can't do that right now. Right.
And I think it was fear that more wouldn't come in, or that I wouldn't know what to do with it, that I would do something stupid with it once it was in my account. I mean, I'm using that old language that I used to have because I didn't trust myself. And now building this me that is kind of financially literate person that knows what to do with money. And I'm still in the process, of course. Sometimes I keep it in my account for a long time now before doing anything with it because I'm still working on that. But I thought at some point in time I'll ask a question about that.
Great. We can totally cover that. And I just want to, like, for our listeners, like, reiterate that it doesn't have to make logical sense. Like our behaviors are really tied to those voices. And that, like you said, like if I put it in my account, I might do something, this is old Annie, of course, would put like, I might do something stupid. Right. But like you said, like you're paying late fees because you were so afraid you'd do something stupid. Someone could say you were doing right.
Not the most efficient way of handling your money.
Right.
Well, and I started a log about how much late fees I was spending. And so I was like, okay, so you're investing $90 a month in this way of doing things. So is that worth it to you, or do you want to invest that somewhere else? And so I was like, started kind of taking agency of that. I'm choosing to do this. I'm choosing to keep all my checks, not deposit them, and then be late, one day late on my car payment, or one day late because I was holding so tightly. Right. So is that where you want to invest your money, or would you rather get a massage? Okay, I'd rather get a massage.
I love that because it's so true, right? And it took the judgment out of it. Like it's not about judging, which is what we typically do, and even what we've been joking about, right? Is that like the typical thing when we have a behavior like that, even if we know like it's somewhere tight in us that we sort of don't have control over yet because it's in our wiring and it's in our brain, like the first step most people do is judge it, right? And I think you did that for a while, but then you moved it into the phase of like, okay, let's take the judgment out and just put the logic on it. Like it's just a choice. Do you want a massage, or do you want to not deposit checks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And writing down the late fees was really helpful for me. Like, especially because then I would go below my balance, or below zero in my account, and I would have thousands of dollars in my red thing. I was like, okay, so this way of being, you invested $90 this month. Is this what you want to keep doing? Okay, nope.
Which is awesome. And it's all a process, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And which, I think I know when we change it over time versus just sort of beating yourself up into like putting the money in your account, like it sticks and it grows and you keep growing and growing in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is awesome. Let's see. I want to share this story. I would love you to share your paddleboard story because I think it's just such a great when we're open to instant manifestations and we start to become this person who like money and the good stuff is always flowing. These are the things that happen.
Yes. So this summer I tried paddle boarding for the first time and I loved it. And I borrowed a friend's board several times this summer. And the other day I had this thought, man, I'd love a paddleboard. I wonder how that's going to happen. And the next day, my friend sent me a text saying, "Hey, um, paddleboards were cheaper. Like there was a deal if I bought two, so I bought you one." I was like, what? It was literally the next day. I had that little quick thought.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'd love a paddleboard. I wonder how that's gonna happen. Just that's it. That was so those are my automatic thoughts now. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder how that. And then the very next day, you want a paddleboard? Here's a paddleboard. I got it in your favorite colors. She'd already ordered it. There was no me being like, "Oh, you can't do that." Like she's like, "Oh, I already ordered it."
That's awesome. And from a law of attraction perspective, I want to throw this in for our listeners is so often when people try to manifest, like, right, I always say it's about becoming the person who's a great manifester, which is what I would describe that story. That's a story about a great manifester, right? Not somebody who tried to manifest something.
Yeah. No, I didn't put a picture of it on my board or, anything. I just had this real little thought
and it went. Yeah. And that's like also what I wanted to list. Like it becomes the thought, it becomes the expectation. And you didn't put it on your vision board. I love that you said that. You didn't say like, I want a paddle board and I want it in whatever your favorite colors are. And I want it to have, right? Like you just, this is it. And you trust, like, it's such a great example. Because a lot of times people will like want specific examples. And I think this is a great example of trust, like, it's just a thought and it's total trust. It's in your favorite colors and you get it, right? You didn't have to you didn't have to put it on your vision board. You didn't have to think about it. You didn't have to visualize it. You didn't have to, be specific. Like I want a paddle board that is purple and green and this and that. And you just, I just really love a paddle board. That'd be great.
Yeah, and one day later, and it's so not awesome. A small thing. It's right. It's a significant thing. It's like, wow, that's so cool.
It is so cool, and I love it. Like I haven't like named that level of like manifesting, but that is like it happens so often when you become this person and you step into your future self. Like you just become this great manifester where things just happen with very little effort.
And do you remember when because it was part of that script I was doing this summer?
Yes.
And for the 2-hour, I went to the lake to script for 2 hours and I was scripting about paddleboarding. And then right then my friend, a different friend sent me a text that said, "Hey, what are you doing? We're at the lake paddleboarding." I'm like, "Oh, hey, I'm at the lake." It was same lake, big lake. I was on the other side and come and join us. And then I hopped into my script. And yeah, it's so cool.
Yes, I totally remember. And that was the perfect way to share it. Because I wanted to bring up how it was in your script, but it was like, just saying it's in your script isn't as good as that whole story. So that's awesome. Yeah, it is, right? And it was that instant, like, oh, we're right here. Like, come do it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. I love it. I love when you get to this phase where like that stuff just keeps happening more and more and more. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It really is.
Yeah.
And because it's been the new year and I've been looking a lot at kind of where I've been the last year and where I came from. And I was going through some of my journals and And I had a list of, all the quote unquote debts I wanted to pay, because I used to call them debts, and paid off, and things I wanted to do financially and personally. And so, and then I've done them all, and it's really,
Yay.
I paid off the debts I wanted to pay, the investment. I've invested my money towards that, and I've done a lot of things, and that I really wanted to do that felt very big and unattainable a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And so seeing, and I always kind of, as a therapist, I always look at, is the intervention creating change? And so is it, if it's, because I had been stuck for years in these areas. I had probably said those same things for the last 3 years in my year review kind of thing.
Right.
And so when I look at, is this intervention, what I'm investing in, is it creating change? If it creates even a little bit of change, that is a sign that this is, keep going in that direction. If it's stagnant, then maybe we need to do something different. And so when I look at how deep the change is, and how in all areas, that wellness wheel, those wellness wheels, in all areas of my life, I've expanded, I've created balance, I've created change that I wanted to create. And so is this invention or invention, is this investment, like in the Enchanted Circle, is that where I want to invest my money? Hell yes. Because what I'm getting from it is so, in all areas of my life, expansive, and to just
makes total sense. Good job. I love it. I love that just happened. And for those of you that don't know what just happened, Annie was about to question herself. And it's just such a good example of, I don't do that anymore. And I could see it on video, oh, what am I doing? I'm not going there. Of course it makes sense, right? That's what was happening, right?
Yes. I've spoken.
Right. Which is so fun and powerful. And how does it feel to be that? I just had this vision of the almighty Oz. That's what that reminded me of, right? Oz has spoken.
Yes.
Yeah. How does it feel to be that powerful?
It feels like exactly as it should be. This is how it should be. It feels intentional and unwavering. And I know I wavered a little there, but I caught myself.
You caught yourself, which counts. That totally counts.
And it is a process, and that's when it happens, and you caught it on camera.
I did. Awesome.
But it feels natural. It feels, I don't say, does this make sense 150 times. I still say it a little bit, but it's not to the point. I know it makes sense. It makes sense. Period. End of story. And if it doesn't, you'll ask me, and then I'll add some clarification.
Yes. Oh, that.
Well, and in my work, that's coming through. When I testify in court, when I go to meetings, when I that, I am not. Yeah, I am just so much. I'm able to share my knowledge and treatment planning, and it's just, everything is so much more powerful and directed, and yes.
Yes. Oh, which is awesome. Oh, it's so good for you. It's so good for, it has a ripple impact, right? Because that's really good for everyone else involved.
Yeah.
The
whole team. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
awesome.
And
I do. I love my life, every bit of it. And I'm just so grateful.
Yay. That's awesome. Any other awesome things or ahas that you want to make sure we share today?
I was thinking about how how I used to be so stuck, and I thought you could make changes, but I was having a very hard time doing them and
Mhm.
making them. And so I really am appreciating, right? And I think it's because it's the new year and I'm kind of a little more reflective about the whole process. Um, but that your belief system about abundance, your belief system about happiness, and like I did not realize I had a kind of ceiling on how happy I could be. And
Mm.
like I was creating that ceiling, and then that, like, I've been raising the roof on it.
Yeah.
And it's so possible. And now it's not a contrived thing. I'm not like trying to be happy. Happiness is, I can feel it so much more. And like, it's just a part of who I am now. And sure, I have moments where I'm not, because I'm
Yeah.
human. And
Right, because human.
and and that's all up, and then I feel them, and then
Mhm.
like, so I just want to encourage anybody who feels stuck that there really is a way to get unstuck. So I've been thinking about that a lot because it feels so good to be free in my emotional being and my
Mhm.
financial being, and it just, the freedom that I feel is wonderful. So
Yay. That's amazing. And I feel like maybe the best place to wrap up today. I mean, I could go on and on about all the awesome, but just like if you're listening, like take that in. Like even if you don't know it's possible yet, just like hear Annie's words. Like it's possible. You don't have to know how. You don't. If it's the enchanted circle, great. If it's not, great. Like, but just know that it's possible, and what you just have to do is open that. Like it might be possible to not be as stuck as you are right now.
yeah, and that movement is completely possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing this moment in your journey with us. It is, it's so awesome
You're
to hear.
welcome. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you for the opportunity. It feels really good to look at kind of where I've been and where I am, where I'm going, and just kind of appreciate all of those steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yay. Well, thank you. Thank you all for listening. Make sure to come back and check out Annie's next interview.
Thank you for joining us today. If you are inspired and you're ready to start writing a new money story, a new life story, to really pick the pin up and design your happy ever after, go to enchantedlifeu.com. That's enchantedlifeu.com to get started. For any links that we talked about in the show, you can find the show notes at manifestingsuccessstories.com.